Hi, it's Sammy. You might hear some rain in tinfoil behind my voice. I think it'll fit the video. Anyway, there's a particular culminating scene of a storyline that always gets to me. You know the troubled mother and spawn relationship, right? Classic. That is our storyline. And the culminating scene I'm talking about is when the mother breaks down with tears, gasps, screams, whispers, falling to the floor in total desperation when her baby is gone. There are two films that exemplify this perfectly for me. One is, of course, Prayers for Bobby. The other, less known I suppose, is 2007's The Invisible. They, the culminating scenes, are very different, but at their core, I like to believe they are exactly the same. The child is gone, and at some point, the mother realizes that in a way that is impossible to ignore. The mask of pretenses and appearances and beliefs, or the reality of being distant, too focused on work, neglectful, both of those creating this wall where their love was not expressed clearly, correctly, or sufficiently enough, suddenly seem meaningless as they realize their child is gone and they didn't know them. They didn't know that they loved them this much. They may never know. Did my child even know me? Loved me? Could they forgive me? That gets to me every single time in whatever form it comes, but film is, of course, to me the most visceral. All potential is potentially lost in that moment. The relationship will never not be troubled. They may never be forgiven, and their whole motherhood was a waste. I break with them because I, in part, know the feeling, and it reminds me that if I ever succeeded in my plans and attempts when my mother was alive, she would probably go through that. It's weird seeing yourself and someone you once despised mirrored back at you like that, you know? I always thought there were two kinds of love, primarily. There's the biologically driven love, the one formed from conception, the one that, when there, is impossible to drive away. And then there's actual love in its many forms. There's a biological component, sure, but it's mostly emotional, psychological. It can come and go, or it can stay, it can be dangerous or an illusion, but primarily it's many times irrational, even with that biological component. And I used to say often that I loved my mother because I was wired to, but it ends there. On top of that biological, evolutionary love, there is way too much weight. I despised her. I couldn't stand her. I hated my mother. For a long time. It's close to what I imagine religious persecution feels like. You are forced not to worship your goddess by some external force under threat of death. It's a breakup where the love is still there and you know it'll linger. All you want is to know that you're loved back so you can stop hating her. But you could die from that. The goddess is out of reach, blocked, no contact. There's this woman on TikTok, at Reganalaya, that I recently saw recite a poem about this exact flaw in human nature. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. One of the sentences she spoke was, "I love you, but I don't like you." But she was the one hearing it. It has almost 70,000 views. millions? 70K views. It's really that powerful. That wasted religion. I love you, but I don't like you. That is basically what this song's about. I recognize that it sounds like I'm putting blame squarely on the other person for how it went down. I do that in a lot of my songs. I know it's not. I was there, it takes two to tango or whatever. But this song is, to me, the storyline before the culminating scene. I think a lot of especially sexual and gender variant minorities can relate to the actual words, where others can relate to the message if they twist some lines just a little bit. I had to do that growing up, it's y'all's turn now. Anyway, it talks about taking ownership of being a disappointment, but only in the sense that you didn't measure up to that fictional character created in the mind of most parents, not even slightly. The last line, I feel, is the most important. You'll see what I mean. This is the wrong boy. Love the straight man from when you had one. Love the good kid, and you wouldn't do anything for him. And yes, I know you saw his wedding, the flushed bride blushing, your grandkids growing in a tree house in the backyard of the home he'll never own, the college he'll never roam, that shiny PhD. What dreams you had for me, and I am the one who's gonna say I'm sorry, 'cause you loved but loved me wrong, and now I'm just not strong. I'll search the whole world for the love I never saw, and I'm honestly just so sick of being robbed from this, from being the life you lost, the son you never got yet should have got, but still you should have loved me through the wicked things I do, the way which I was born, the roses and the thorns, and I think that you tried, but you loved the wrong boy right from the moment I arrived. And I remember how I used to fight to make you make me happy.